And hello, and good evening, everyone. And hello, Malheur. Welcome back. You disappeared for a while. And you're mute. I cannot lip read yet.
Good evening, Ashok.
And how are you, ma'am?
I am good. I'm good. Yeah, I was also worried I was disappearing, but people be wondering what we're doing, talking about disappearing. Let's welcome people who are online. So, welcome to Leadership in Flow Asia Season 3. And today we are going to talk about leadership in the age of AI with Jonathan Kovilpillai.
Before you
And
bring up Jonathan, right? I just want to share with all our viewers, what Asia, leadership in Asia, and Flow Asia is all about. This show started in 2022, and over time we have seen number one, there are a lot of quiet leaders in Asia, leaders who do things very, very differently, and we kind of figured out that there are three distinct areas we always try to talk to them, and they give us a lot of nuggets and insights about. What are those? Number one, we talk about personal development, not personal growth, leadership growth, and business growth. And we've always seen them tie it together and talk about how they do well. Right? So, yes, tell us, Jonathan. Malay,
huh?
who is he?
Yeah. So I accidentally found Jonathan, suddenly just
Excellently.
and I'm so grateful to have bumped into him. So I saw a poster that
Mhm.
says, a conference on generative AI, and I saw Jonathan's name. Thank goodness I knew how to connect with him. I connected with him because we've been very, very curious about AI and generative AI. And, we are very grateful that Jonathan said yes to us. So who's Jonathan, right? He's with APU, but he's a program manager for APU UNESCO Chair.
Hmm,
What
okay.
does UNESCO has got to do with this? Is
Hmm.
what we're going to find out with Jonathan. So I would say typically let's put our hands together. But yeah, let's put our hands together to welcome Jonathan, who is going to tell us what is the connection. And then we go straight into the 1,000 questions that we have for Jonathan.
Sure.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hello, good evening.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for
Hi,
joining us
Jonathan.
from wherever you are. I think it's very nice of you. We know you're not in this part of the world as to Kuala Lumpur, but thank you for saying yes and thank you for joining us, Jonathan. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm perfectly fine. Had a long day of driving this morning, but I'm fine. Wonderful.
Nice. So I'm sure our audience are very, very curious to know. Tell us a little bit about APU UNESCO Chair. What does it mean?
So APU is a premier private university in Malaysia, the Asia
Right?
Pacific University of Technology and Innovation. And the APU UNESCO Chair is an award by UNESCO where they set up an office in the university to cooperate and to work with other academics and NGOs and industry. In fact, our UNESCO Chair, our charter is harnessing innovations in technology to support teachers and quality education. So when we talked about innovations in technology, one of the most popular innovation in technology of today is of course AI, and that's how UNESCO got tied up with AI. And the
Mm.
UNESCO chair at APU is the director of the unit where I am attached to, the Digital Learning Hub, Professor Dr. Apta Darshan Singh, my boss, and she's the chairholder.
Okay. And your role.
So my role in the UNESCO chair setup is I'm the program manager. Under the APU UNESCO chair, we run many projects and programs to harness technology to support teachers. Among them is a project on SDGs,
Mm.
whereby we train teachers to integrate sustainable development goals into their curriculum. That's a program. We've also got a program called Digit Gals, which stands for Driving Girls in Technology, Leadership, and Growth.
Mm.
And this is a women and girls empowerment program, another program under the APU UNESCO chair. And then we have, of course, the Artificial Intelligence Innovative Designs for Education program, which aims to equip teachers, students, academic leaders, by extension, industry leaders, with the power of generative AI to to make better whatever it is they do. If you're a student, then to improve your learning. If you're a teacher, to improve your teaching. If you're a leader in the industry, to improve how you learn, to help you make decisions for leading. So the aid project at under the AP UNESCO chair currently consists of 8 different training modules that we run um, in schools, in education, ministry departments. We've run it for banks. So there's AI Teach, which is focused on school teachers. There's AI for Learning Designs, AILD, which is focused on higher education. So teachers, lecturers, professors, where they use the power of AI to improve their learning designs, create multiple learning designs in shorter spans of time. Teachers who are listening or who will be listening would probably understand that in their classrooms, they have a multitude of different personalities and learning styles. So when you go in with one learning style, you tend to miss out what they call in the teaching as you're reaching the middle, you're reaching the average. You miss out on the toppers and you miss out on those who are a little bit slower. With
Mm.
the power of AI, we can now create learning designs that can simultaneously meet all types of learners' needs at the,
Mm.
at the same time. So the power of AI in our hands, especially in the education field, is really immense. So with the 8 modules, our aim is to empower teachers, researchers, students, even academic administrators, leaders. We've even gone into healthcare, so we even use some of these AI modules for the healthcare profession as well, doctors,
Nice.
nurses, etc.
Nice. So, would it be fair? Would it be fair if I summarize all the good work that you guys are doing, right? As we know that AI can empower our lives, which is why we want to make sure we enable whoever the groups are that you're working with so that we don't miss out on the opportunities to empower and enable us to do things better. Would that be fair enough? That it's really important, which is why we're doing so, you guys are doing so much of work, right?
Correct, correct. I think the issue is that there is this powerful tool available right now,
Mm-hmm.
and there are 2 questions: those who have the access to use it, how do we guide them to use it to its maximum potential so it maximizes their output? And
Mm-hmm.
also to those who have lesser access to it, how do we then provide them access? Because that's equally important as well, enabling those
Nice.
without access to have access so that it levels. AI is in our opinion, AI is a tool that enables us to level the playing field for everyone,
Nice.
the haves and the have.
Nice.
So we need to make sure the have-nots have it as well.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, and that's so empowering, right? Because then, we when we talk about equity and equality, this could AI would really, bridge the gap faster, better for us. So thank you very much. And I think we all know this. We currently have about, quite a number of people who are on LinkedIn, uh, and say hello. And I think Gerald Fernandez just came to say hello to us. Hi, Gerald. He says, "Good evening, Malar and Ashok. Thank you for joining us, Gerald." And we have Santosh Victor, who's also saying hello. Hi, Santosh. Thank you for joining us in the program today. Now, I think we hear the word AI, and very often when we think about AI, we tend to talk about ChatGPT. That's it. That made AI sort of famous for everybody, right? And then
Right.
we're talking about generative AI. What I really loved when we had a conversation is that you help us to differentiate other, cognitive AI that was already there. So I think perhaps we can start with differentiating between cognitive AI and generative AI. Can we do that?
Ken, thank you, Mala. So I just want to link back to something that you said offline before we got on the show when you talked about using Waze this morning. Waze is a brand name Of course, the identity of the software is it's global positioning systems, right? They are GPS systems, but everybody says Waze, just like how everybody says Colgate for toothpaste, and everybody says Google for search engines. So in that same sense, I think ChatGPT has become that market leader.
Mm,
Everybody just says ChatGPT when what they actually mean could be generative AI. There are so many other types of generative AI, large language models that are out there. Um,
mm,
Google has Gemini, there is Claude, there's a whole host of them. But yes, ChatGPT has become synonymous with generative AI. But I think what
mm,
a lot of people also don't realize is that AI has been around for a long time. I'm sure many
mm,
of your listeners are familiar with Alan Turing. Alan Turing was this scientist in the 1950s, and I think more people are familiar with this thing called the Turing test. The Turing test is when um, they test the intelligence level of robots. So let's say we are having this interview right now. You're talking to me, and at the same
mm,
time, you're talking to a robot or an AI entity. And at that point where you cannot differentiate between my answers and the artificial intelligence entity's answers, then that entity is considered to have passed the Turing test.
mm,
And that has been around since the 50s.
mm,
And AI has been around in the mainstream for many years as well. What made it explode into people's consciousness is basically now, since November 2022, the way you and I interact with the AI has been simplified. In
mm,
2020, people could still use generative AI, but the caveat was you had to know programming language to speak to the computer in its own language. Today, that has changed. You just type in a command in our English language or whichever language you're comfortable with, and the AI system responds. Today, as we speak, I think last week, OpenAI launched the latest edition of GPT, where on your mobile, you don't even have to type anymore. You can press a button and talk to it, and it talks back to you. So, this human computer interaction has become so simplified. That's what has made AI burst into our world at such unexplained speed and etc. But AI has been around for a long time, and in fact,
mm,
the other part of AI that most people use on a daily basis but don't realize its existence is something known as cognitive AI. Cognitive AI are basically computer systems that individuals like you and I don't engage with. As in, we engage with them, but we are unable to generate anything new with them. For example, Netflix. When you watch a program on Netflix, at the end of the show, it asks you whether to give it a one thumbs up or a two thumbs up. And what's happening is the algorithm at the back is building a preference for you. And based on that, the cognitive system uses predictive analysis, all sorts of other technical jargon to then recommend shows or movies that it thinks that you would like.
right.
When we play games like online chess, um, that's also using a form of intelligence system to make the moves, but it cannot create new moves other than which is allowed by its programming rules.
Mm,
Whereas with generative AI, it produces new content, hence the
mm,
term generative. It's generating new content, content that previously would not have existed. So it's used to create images, text, music, etc. Cognitive AI basically helps in problem solving, decision making, helps businesses with data analytics and stuff like that. So there's a distinct difference. But for the
mm,
average layperson, I think most of us we really don't need to know cognitive AI because those are
mm.
systems programmed to work and they're used by corporations, etc. Hope that wasn't too
Nice.
long a short question.
No, no, no. I mean, I I don't know about other people, but I can listen to you because they're like, you know, you are helping, you're surfacing to help us see AI in context, that it's not new, it's something we've lived with, and how cognitive AI is so much a part of our life and we did not know, and why AI has now become a very important tool. Again, right, this is how it has been simplified to make it user friendly. That
Right.
we can, so when it's user friendly, we all can learn how to use it faster and better. All right, and
Yes.
it's also very important. I mean, I learned this from you, because when we talk about generative AI, it's like how it's speeding up our progress,
Mhm,
right? By giving
mhm.
us a lot of new inputs, by creating stuff with us, right? I think that was
Yeah.
the other input that I took away. You want to add something on, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that because of how we interact with it now, it is just either through texting or now more recently through speaking to it. It is so intuitive. I think as a human race, we've been so you become so accustomed to texting over the last 15 years or so, ever since WhatsApp came up and before that SMS. We're so good at texting,
Mm,
and when AI now uses texting to interact, it became like second nature to us. And maybe those with a little bit of a language challenge might find it difficult, because for generative AI to really produce fantastic, fabulous, and whatever output,
mm,
the prompting is absolutely important. The way we prompt it.
mm,
So
mm,
having command of language is always helpful,
mm, mm,
but
mm.
it's become so
Nice.
intuitive. It's become so intuitive like that. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you very much. Now,
No.
of course, as you know, we are I mean, our show is known as Leadership in Flow Asia, right? So we are trying to figure out, okay, everybody, AI is probably useful for everybody. Generative AI is something that's useful at every level, as you said, right? Which is why, you're trying to bring this learning opportunities to every group of people that you can, serve. Now, but because we're in a leadership program, can you help us or enlighten us? How do you think leaders can use cognitive AI to improve business results?
Okay. Number one, leaders will not use cognitive AI the same way they use generative AI, because cognitive AI, if you remember, I mentioned earlier, those are systems that are programmed into the back end of operations. For example, the banks or the big businesses, etc. They would guide what they want the systems to do. They guide what they want the systems to do. For example, if I want my system to help my frontliners make quick decisions based on data, then I will use a system that basically provides me data driven insights, so that even my frontliners don't have to tell my customers, give me a week, we'll get back to you.
Mm,
Yeah, decisions can be made immediately. It helps by reducing risks and provides growth opportunities. Another example that always I comes to mind is the banking system.
mm,
Every time we withdraw money from the ATM, those transactions are recorded. The cognitive systems in the back end recognize a pattern. So they know that, okay, Jonathan usually withdraws money on Monday, and keeps that money, doesn't withdraw again until the next Monday. But in between the week, he uses his debit card to pay for this, that, etc. There's a pattern that's being built. And if something happens out of the norm, an anomaly to the pattern, then it can automatically trigger a flag. It can trigger an alert. It may or may not be a scam, but having a trigger will always help the bank to immediately get in touch with the customer and say, is everything all right? So those kind of customer service, those kind of tools that the banks can use the cognitive systems for, those are very helpful. In fact, big businesses can also, or I mean, again, banks can also use these systems to make predictive analysis. So based on your spending patterns, your saving patterns, they can come up with customized uh, plans for you. They can come up with forecasting. I mean, if you're into buying, selling shares, it helps on a system level. So leaders cannot individually operate cognitive systems like how they would generate. It's not like you chat into a you type into a box and you get a response. No, but these are systems that are built in, and leaders direct the business in the way they want it. If I was a big business manager, I would look at my business and see what my customers are looking for, and then I would create systems that then meet these needs.
Mm, mm, mm. So what I'm hearing from you, and I'm sure Ashok will want to add on to this because he's okay. I want to say something kind of a look. What I'm hearing from you is that it seems to me that cognitive AI is actually very powerful to help us track patterns for whatever outcomes that we are looking for. So whether we
Mhm.
are looking at past patterns to see who is breaking the pattern, like in this case, if you think it's a scam, right? Or
Right,
what are the emerging patterns so that you proactively can solve a problem
correct.
before it really becomes a challenge. So you are actually looking for patterns as to what, depending on the data that you're looking for, you are able to now detect this pattern very quickly, which means that you would be able then to be able to be in touch with the market and solve the problem for the group that you want to serve, is what I'm hearing. Am I right, Jonathan?
You're right. So, for example, even in the education sector, because I must admit that my experiences are very much in the education sector. So, even in the education sector, when you have education leaders predicting inflow of students, or even if you have teachers who want to
Mm,
use, but teachers probably won't have custom built cognitive AI systems at their fingertips, right?
mm,
But they use systems that are built into the learning management system. So learning management
mm,
systems help teachers to analyze student performance, to see which student may need help in the future, may need additional help. Then they can
mm,
use generative AI to create customized learning pathways or learning plans for the students who may need extra help. So yes, being a leader is not only of the multinational corporations, the teacher is also the leader in the classroom. So
mm.
they may not be creating these cognitive AI systems, but they can jolly well use the ones that are built into the learning management systems. So you're right. It helps
Thank you.
in looking into the future to analyze that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's giving us quick access to emerging patterns. And then that means that if you have access to emerging patterns as they appear, we are able to resolve or look for innovative solutions faster, which is what leadership is all about, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jonathan. And yes, Ashok, I will share Jonathan with you for a bit.
Thank you very much for sharing, Jonathan. Jonathan, thank you very much for taking us from Alan Turing's time. And if I recall, he became famous in World War II, didn't he? For the Enigma project, from what I read, But thank you for
Really.
reminding me about Alan Turing again. And thank you for giving us a very clear understanding of cognitive AI, because it appears to me we have in MNCs or in businesses, we have already been using cognitive AI. We just didn't know that, because it's really about your, like I said, the data, the algorithms, and it's a very big spreadsheet, in a way, with the rules down there. And I like the fact that you mentioned earlier about reaching the middle, right? About reaching the middle even for students. And that's what
Mhm.
I see for generative AI, because generative AI helps everyone reach the middle. I'm talking about whether it's an SME business owner, right? Raise a level playing field in that sense, or even within the businesses itself, MNCs or whatever, right? I can see the generative AI can help reach the middle and elevate the middle. So, in that sense, from a business point of view, how can leaders use generative AI to improve, innovate, that can lead to increased productivity?
Like I smiled at this question because I remembered my boss. I think I must say that um, she did. She always tells me she did her PhD about 20 plus years ago,
Mhm.
and in her PhD, she already spoke about how education needs AI and neural networks so that the grunt work gets taken over by the machines and teachers can focus on the important work of dealing with the students, thinking up new lessons, and
Right.
the thinking part of it, and let the grunt work happen. And in that same sense, leaders as well, the sky is the limit. how
Okay.
you want to use generative AI to improve your business, to improve your productivity, the sky is the limit. Your creativity is your limit. I mean, simple examples uh, I can give you are things like you can use AI to create specific, specialized, customized training and development for your staff. You have new hires, you have people who've been in the company since it started, but everyone needs some form of training, education, development. AI can customize this. AI can also be used to generate product ideas. It's an amazing brainstorming tool.
Mm.
You can actually have a conversation with generative AI on brainstorming, and it will continuously give you ideas, and you respond to it, you fine tune it, and so if a leader is looking for ideas, not just for product, but looking for ways to motivate staff, so that's why I say that his or her creativity is the limit. You can use
Okay.
it to generate content. You can use it for creating reports. You can use it for analyzing reports. I tested this once. I downloaded a Excel sheet that had about 7 million cells of data or something like that. Uh, and of course, anybody who has done data analysis can tell you that, yeah, I can still manually use Excel and still sift through the data.
Mm.
But with the generative AI tool, I could get information from that humongous data sheet just like that. I could ask it questions like, okay, now based on this, how many of our transactions are Malaysian? Within 2 seconds, it tells me Malaysian transactions
Wow.
from this list are 27,000, totaling 2.2 billion. It gave me the figures. I can't remember the figures exactly at the top of my head, but yes, it gives me. So those kind of things helps leaders to put information and data at their fingertips. You're going in for a meeting, you need immediate data. Somebody gives you a 20-page PDF report. Um, this morning when we were driving to Penang, I was telling my colleague in the car, I said, you're saying that somebody gave him a 200-page report and he
Mm.
hasn't had time to read it. So I said, throw it in GPT and ask it for the most important things in one page. Yeah, so it really helps you to save time. Um, I know the flip side of that argument is, oh, it's going to make us all lazy. But I don't think that's accurate because I like to tell people who I know that I live about 40 kilometers away from where I work. I can walk to work. It'll take me about 12 hours maybe, but I still use a car because the technology is available. So
Okay.
the technology, AI technology is available. It is there to simplify things, to speed up things, and I think leaders, it's just up to how much creativity they want to put into it. You know, and it's
Right.
just like
Right.
the amount of input, the quality of input you put in is the quality of the output that you get as well.
Sure, sure. I mean, Jonathan, I mean, you are sharing a lot of things, and it's exciting to listen to it because you're talking about creativity. It's based on a limit of creativity, isn't it? There's so much of tools out there, and all the examples you've given is how you can save time, and perhaps it can be translated to saving money in that way too. And I
Mhm,
can see
mhm.
how a generative AI can even reduce stress, perhaps. You
Oh
know.
yes,
Uh,
definitely.
now, so when you share all of this is exciting and overwhelming.
Ouch.
Why do I say that? Why do I say that? Because you're telling me, oh, there's so much of data. I mean, I can, how do I mull through data? I've got tools out there, and it can
Mm,
help me do this and do that. I'm hearing all of that. Then my question is, okay, if I'm a leader, you've told me all of this big picture. I get it, and thank you very much. But I have now
mm,
inertia, I have fear, right?
yeah.
What's my first step? What's my next step? So, in your experience, in your opinion, what would be three important skills leaders need to know to operate generative AI?
I think the first thing, whether you're a leader, you're a follower, you're a teacher, you're a student, the first skill that people need to develop is prompting. The
Prompting.
skill of prompting, the art of prompting. Prompting is
Mm,
so important. Prompting is because any output that you get from the AI uh, entity is based entirely on how
mm,
you prompt it, which is why when we do these trainings for people, we always tell them to start out by streamlining the AI entity. See, the AI entity, I'm just going to use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a master or an expert in a million things. So if I want to ask ChatGPT to help me create uh, an assessment for my students, I first need to uh, tell the tool that, hey, look, you are an expert educator.
Okay.
So now what happens in the back end is it's removing all its knowledge from car mechanics to baking a cake to everything to focus on education. So when you prompt, you always start with that. You put things into context for the tool. And then you start with your prompt by saying, okay, now that I've given you this context, you are an expert educator. Now let's talk about assessments you have been writing. And then I go into what I want. So the first skill
Sure.
that everybody must have is the ability to prompt. In fact, prompting is so important that I think there are some places where they even offer courses in prompting, prompt engineering, they call it. Some other more entrepreneurial people have created a whole bunch of prompts, 250 prompts, and then they sell it for 200 USD. I'm sure you'd have seen those kind of ads coming up as well.
Mhm.
But I think everybody should make an effort to learn prompting themselves. And prompting is something that you don't get uh, good at out of the box. It takes practice. It's a skill that you just practice and practice. You will get better. Everybody will get better the more they use it. Number two, when you prompt AI, it gives you output.
Mhm.
The second most important skill that people must develop is the ability to validate that output. Now, this is not really a skill, it simply means that when you give it a prompt, you must be in a position to validate what the AI is telling you. Because although we've really gone past the stage of AI hallucination and today's AI models, they are more knowledgeable, they don't hallucinate as much as the initial ones did. But still, you must be able to validate the output, that this output is maybe not necessarily 100% correct, but relevant to the input that you gave it, the prompt that you gave it. For example, if I'm asking the AI to create an assessment question for me based on a marketing mix, and I think everyone, I'm mentioning marketing mix because everybody knows the four P's of marketing, yeah. And it gives me a question related to, say, um, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, I should be in a position to validate that this question is wrong. The
Mm.
output that it gave me is wrong. If you are unable to validate, then you use whatever comes out of it, then you are putting yourself in a very dangerous position. Because if you didn't validate and you put it out in public, whether it's to your students or to the general public, somebody will then validate you and ask you, what are you talking about? Do you know what you're talking about? So the ability to validate. And that's the second thing we always tell people we train. If you cannot validate an output of generative AI, please do not use it.
Mm.
Refrain from using it. So
Sure.
validation is the second most important. I think the other skills, I would combine a few things together. Things like being, I mentioned earlier, being creative, your creativity, having a little bit of technical proficiency to understand AI tools. A lot of people tend to make the mistake of thinking that ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, these generative AI large language models, they think that these are search engines on steroids. They are not. Google,
Oh.
Google is a search engine. So a search engine scours the web to find you the information that you are looking for.
Mm.
So you say, I'm in Penang now, and I say, what's the best place to find char kway teow? So the search engine is going to search all the postings by people on Facebook, on Instagram, etc., and come back and on TripAdvisor, etc., and come back and give me a list of 10 places to have the best char kway teow. And it's going to rank it in order of by its own algorithm. That's a search engine. If I pop that same question into ChatGPT, that's a generative tool. Chances are it's going to generate some answer to me and say in the middle of the sea. Find it. You know, it is not using the tool for its most optimum purpose. It's a
Right.
generative tool. You use it to generate things, not find. So that amount of technical proficiency, the ability to use. The other one is when people want to use, they say, "I'm trying to create a PowerPoint. What
Hmm.
tool do I use?" I'm trying to. They think that okay, I use Chat GPT, I can do everything. I want to write a song. I want to be the next Michael Jackson.
Hmm.
There's some. It's not meant. Yeah, it can write lyrics beautifully for you. It can write poems beautifully, but you will need. I mean, there are people who make specialized proprietary tool software for making videos, for creating PowerPoints, etc. So the knowledge or the technical proficiency to know that okay, for this purpose there is this tool, for this
Hmm.
purpose this tool, and like you said, it can create a sense of fear because there are so many tools. Every day you see on LinkedIn, you see on Facebook, somebody will post a poster with 100 new
Yeah.
AI tools to do this, do that. Yeah, so people get overwhelmed. It becomes like what they call a cognitive overload.
Hmm.
Where to start, and then when you're so scared and you don't know where to start, you end up not starting anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah? So that's the danger. So these are the skills like you need to know, think through which tool is for which one, find out,
Hmm.
ask questions, ask people, and find out. But most important, prompting and validating.
Right, right, right. No, thank you very much for saying that. I'm going to remember this line. What's it? Search engine on steroids. I got to remember that one. No, okay. So thank you for sharing with us the three most important skills in your view. Number one is being very good in the art of prompting. That means creating the personality, the persona, and putting it in the right context perspective. And the
Very
second
important.
one is all about validating the output. So in
Mm.
that sense,
Yes,
I from what I'm hearing from you, yes, you need to have some level of subject matter expertise or subject matter awareness. Yeah.
correct.
And
Correct.
the third one is know your various tools to help
Mm.
you in your creativity. Yeah.
Yes.
These are three things you're talking about. And you know what? Earlier on, you said we might become lazy. No, I don't think so, man. This is more work now. Better work, actually. I would say more work, but it's another additional layer of work for us to do. But that will only make us more knowledgeable, more sharper in a way. Because what you're sharing with us is what is going to improve now is the way we ask questions.
Correct. I
And,
should just
and a lot of us,
sorry. I should just add on that thing about not becoming lazy. In
mm,
fact, I think it makes us more productive because now in the same
exactly.
amount of time, I
Mm,
can do more things instead of sitting down
exactly.
for one day thinking of how to write this thing. I know how to do it, but I just want to speed up the process. So now in that same
Exactly.
amount of time, it's not making me lazy. I think it makes people more productive. But you need to also be able to use it ethically, responsibly. That's where the whole validation comes in. If
Of
you're
course.
unable
Of
to
course.
validate and you simply chinchai bang something and produce something, then you're in trouble. You
Exactly.
know?
Yeah.
Then that's abuse of the tool, of the power of the tool.
Hmm, exactly. So
which
what I'm,
which can happen with anything, right?
Yes,
yes, it
correct.
Any
can.
great tool, there's always and in fact, Ashok, what's coming to my mind with what
Mhm.
Jonathan is saying is that it doesn't I think one of the things we've been grappling with in the show is how do we increase productivity while limiting with limited resources or sometimes reduced resources.
Right.
So what I'm hearing from a leadership point of view, from what Jonathan is saying, is that not only it increases productivity, but with the three steps to optimize generative AI that Jonathan has given, what is also very clear is that we are progressing.
Mm.
It pushes you to
Mm.
progress.
Yeah.
Whereas without this tool, our progress will be slower. Now, what you're doing is that I know this much. I become curious, right? So with prompting, I need to ask myself, what am I curious about? What questions do I have? What do I need to understand? Now, when you're doing that process, you are learning and growing faster than you would grow without it.
On, Malu, on
So,
that point, can I just share something? This morning, our CEO shared with me some data from AWS, right?
Mm.
And AWS has done a little bit of a study, and it says that in the next 5 years, over 96% of employers and workers in Malaysia expect to use generative AI. 96%, more than 96%. 97% of organization will use AI powered solutions and tools within the next 3 years, 2028.
Wow.
Employers
Wow.
in Malaysia believe AI can boost overall productivity by up to 57%.
Wow.
This is AWS, and AWS probably powers the cloud systems of a lot of companies in Malaysia. And they are saying this demand for AI expertise transcends generations. 92% of Gen Z and 94% of baby boomers want to pick up AI skills for their careers. And finally, workers in Malaysia equipped with AI skills and expertise could see a 40 to 53% pay boost.
Wow. You brought in so much of good news, right, for Malaysia?
And we see this actually happening. My wife does interviews and all that, right? So she says that some of the things that people ask in interviews today are already questions like this. They say, "Can you prompt? What is your skill level in prompting?" People want to know whether you are equipped to use um, generative AI, which is why, as a university, as an education APU, we feel very strange when we hear some universities say, "No, we cannot. We have to ban this."
Mm.
Mhm.
So
Mm,
we find it very strange. You say, why? Why do you ban this at the university level when these are the same skills that your students need to pick up to enter the workforce?
mm,
So you ban it
mm,
now, and then when they go into the workforce, they are at a disadvantage compared to some other kid who came from another university which encouraged the usage. So I'm proud to
mm.
say that at APU we encourage the usage of AI responsibly, both faculty and students.
Wow, finally one marketing line came in. but,
Nice.
but I mean that, and I think it's really fantastic, because I think the part that we have missed in terms of misuse of generative AI is the fact that if you don't know, if you don't have the right set of skills and knowledge for your role and that what you're looking for to actually progress, you won't
Mhm.
be able to validate, because if you don't know, you can't validate,
Correct.
because you don't
Exactly.
understand what's being right. And I think that that the validation skill, the ability to validate, is what will tell you whether you are going to use it, you're going to use generative AI well, number one, but more importantly, whether whatever you produce is actually going to be a trustworthy source
Mm.
Correct.
at work, in
Correct. And
life, right?
it also makes you learn, because now when the output comes out and you can't validate it, you're going to go and pick up a book to check and see whether it's correct or not. So it also makes you learn.
Correct. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
definitely it accelerates growth lah, growth and progress, right?
Oh,
And that's
definite,
what we're
definite.
looking
Yeah,
for.
I don't know,
Thank
Mala, you're right to say, because with this, what the way Jonathan has explained, it's very clear, right? We are learning so many more new skills from asking the right question, to be discerning, right? In terms of validation, to be able to grow and learn some more. Yes, we are progressing. And we are growing. Fantastic. You know what this reminds me of, Mala and Jonathan?
you.
You guys much younger than me, but if you go back 30 odd years ago, remember when Microsoft Office solutions came?
Mm-hmm.
There was a
Yeah.
typewriter. Then when Microsoft Office came, all of us were using it. So now we're in that era. That's the way I see it. The typewriter may not be used, but the typists still need to do the work. you know but now we have to learn new skills and become more efficient. So in that sense, right, quick
Right.
question is
Before you go to the next question,
sure.
before you go to the next question, so can I just add, this is the line that we always use in our training at the end of our training sessions, at all sessions. AI will never replace you,
Mm,
but somebody using AI will replace you.
absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's
I
true. That's
love
true. That's true.
it.
That's true.
I
uh,
need to coach you now. Thank you.
Please do.
so quick question then. So since we're talking about it from a business point of view, can you share with us, right, what improvements do you foresee that businesses will benefit from using generative AI?
Oh, number one, enhanced, improved personalization. I mean, of course, when businesses contact customers today, we don't have the old. I think, say about 15 years ago, we used to receive emails from companies saying, "Dear customer." We don't have that already now. Now they call you by dear Jonathan, dear Mala, dear Ashi. They do that. But I think with AI, the level of tailored content and experience will improve dramatically, will increase dramatically. Again, how the industry might use it, I'm not 100% sure, but I can tell you in the education industry, personalization, or what we refer to as adaptive learning,
Mm,
where the content adapts to the learner. If a learner is faster, then you get more content. If the learner is a bit slower, the content is there repeated. Um, so, in that sense, personalization is one of the biggest improvements that I can see. Of course, it will accelerate innovation, because now instead of getting five fellows together and having a brainstorm session, I can have a brainstorm session with my GPT and then go for that meeting with five fellows, and all five fellows have also had their brainstorm session with their GPTs. Now we've got 25 new ideas on the floor to begin the meeting with. You know? So it's things like that, when we can prototype stuff rapidly. I think because we do a little bit of training in the medical field, we're also
mm,
seeing
mm.
how in the healthcare industry, new ideation of products and services, etc. Another thing I think is we gain in our efficiency,
Mm.
especially uh, administrative efficiency, by using AI to automate repetitive and time consuming tasks. About 4 years ago, my boss, Prof. Apta, and I were working on this is before ChatGPT and all this AI, we were working in an automated assessment grading system, where we felt that we could actually take the hundreds or thousands of answered questions, put it together into like a large language model, and then use that to grade. But while we were working on it, ChatGPT came out, and then but yeah, those kind of things where you can use AI to help you
Mm,
with repetitive tasks. Even when we talk about giving comments for grading, etc.,
mm, mm, mm.
or administrators who whatever they're doing, anything that requires that's repetitive, you want to find ways to automate it. We can free. I think the idea here is the impact is it frees up the human resource. It frees up the human
Right.
to do more strategic thinking work.
Okay, thank
So
you. Thank you for that. So, what I'm hearing from you, right, Jonathan, is also, I mean, the word that came out to my mind is now generative AI is your personal assistant,
oh
you know?
yes,
Yeah, is your
yes,
personal assistant, because you said, do all your brainstorming, then you come in,
hmm,
and I see that as a personal assistant, and that's fantastic, isn't it? Now,
yeah,
when you talked about improving or automating processes and all that, this is a fantastic way to help organizations be efficient and productive.
yeah,
So, in that sense, what we're trying to do is we're trying to augment generative AI to improve current workflows, right?
right.
That's what we're trying to do. So, in that essence, what skills do leaders need to augment generative AI to improve current workflows?
I would say number one is a change mindset. Lah. They've got to not
Okay.
fear AI. I think that there has got to be that, because once you implement something like generative AI in your organization, companies fear that um, it opens up your organization's data to the whole, to open AI the company, or to Google the company,
Mm,
etc. And that fear cripples, and that fear paralyzes, and people don't want to go into it. What they don't realize is that you can actually build um, a very internal based AI language model, that the data is kept within the organization. It does not leave the organization. So that kind of change mindset, of management. Of course, leaders need to constantly have
okay.
a strategic vision, not just buy or pay for the professional version of AI, and give everybody in the office and say, nah, use, but rather find out where it can add value. Where does it add value in your value chain? Yeah?
Nice.
This goes back to any form of innovation. When you innovate, you don't innovate just for the sake of innovating. Right? You innovate for the sake of increasing productivity. You innovate for the sake of reducing um, time taken on a task, etc. So that strategic vision to see where AI can add value must happen. They need to just make sure that having the AI tool at their hand aligns with whatever business goals or what they have. Yeah,
Mm.
and yeah, so those are the kind of skills I think leaders need to pick up. They don't
Nice.
need to pick up. They don't need to pick up the technical skills. They don't need to. Those are skills that they don't need to in order to improve workflows. They need to
Nice.
know what
Nice.
those workflows are and where improvement is needed. That kind of.
Nice. I'm going to pass you to Mother, but before that, I just want to share with you because yesterday, because I knew I'm going to be part of the show with you, and I didn't want to look silly next to a guru like you. So what I did was I attended a webinar to understand a little bit more also about ChatGPT, or not ChatGPT, or generative AI. And I just want to share with you and augment what I learned with what you've just shared. So what I heard, if I combine both, is number one is the way the other gentleman was sharing with us is he said bring your teams together, small groups, that's fine. And like you said, the strategic vision, he
Mm-hmm.
said go and solve a problem, right? Go and find
Mm,
out what's the problem in the current workflow. So in
correct.
what you're mentioning is about adding value, right?
Yeah.
Then he also talked about fear, like exactly like what you did. So he said the next step of it is, yes, get everyone, teach them a little bit about the prompting, like what you mentioned, and the
Mm-hmm.
various tools, and and ask them to come up with a prototype. So he said come up with a prototype of a solution, and the way he said it is use dummy data, like what you mentioned, because a lot of people are afraid whether can I what if I took my company organizational and not my data and uploaded it. No, he said
Right.
just use dummy data, just build a prototype to see whether this can solve the problem.
Correct.
And if you
Yeah.
can, then you pitch it to the bigger group and then ask for resources, and then you can bring in your technical expertise or whatever to then build that floor. So I think that's a very fantastic way of elevating the fear that you have and getting everyone to keep practicing about AI,
Mm. Yeah.
in one form or the other. Everybody is involved, and the leaders don't have to worry about knowing everything and look good in front of people. They just have to guide them along, you know. So thank
Correct.
you for sharing what you've done, and yeah, I'm glad I attended the session so I could also look smart in front of Malar and you. Malar, you have a question?
Now I have fear because I don't feel so smart. Okay.
Oh dear.
Uh, yeah, I think he sort of answered the question, but I'm also still very curious, right? Because I think so on one hand, I just loved your quote where you say AI will not replace you, but someone who knows AI will replace you.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
that,
Very true.
I mean, based on the statistics that you shared in terms of increase in productivity and salary, right? It already tells you that it's a superpower that you will be holding into the
Correct.
future. Okay. Now, but if I'm a leader, okay, and I need to now manage, lead strategically a group of people who have this superpower as part of my team members,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, while you enlighten us to, okay, you shouldn't fear, tell me what's the mindset? Because so very often, right, I think in leadership we say, oh, you should. It's leaders on stage will tell you, I like to hire people who are smarter than me.
Correct.
I'm not sure because the fact that they fear AI, and if they hire now people with the superpower, I'm imagining that the fear will be greater, right? But I think most importantly, if you think about leadership and you think about leading people with this superpower, what is the
Mhm.
leadership mindset that we quickly need to embrace as leaders so that we don't stop or slow down the progress of the people who have superpowers?
Okay. Interesting question. I think this really applies even to education because in education, I think most teachers today have come to the point, like I said in the beginning, a teacher is a leader in the classroom. Yeah. But I think teachers have come to the point where we now realize that Here's another quote if you want. We are no more the sage on the stage. We are rather the guide on the side. We are no more the sage who knows it all standing in front of people and spouting wisdom. We are, because our students in the class don't need to come into my classroom to learn. They can go to YouTube, they can go to LinkedIn Learning, so many places where they can learn. Yeah. So teachers today have already embraced that mindset change that there must be continuous learning, and I can learn from my student. But I think the first mindset change would be that continuous learning. Embrace it. You
Mm,
must continuously stay updated, especially with AI advancements. They are happening too fast. You go to sleep for 1 week and you get up, suddenly the whole world's different place.
mm,
So leaders need to really stay updated, be open to new technologies, so that they can be making more informed decisions.
mm,
Number two, I think you need to not just the culture of innovation. You want to embrace it and promote it. You want people to innovate, so you want to encourage your staff to say, hey, go try out. Okay, your staff comes and tells you, boss, I found this new AI yesterday, can do this. Okay, go do this and come back and tell us how this can help in our processes. Encourage that innovation culture. Yeah. And of course, there must be ethical usage, basically. There must be ethical usage. There's a lot of potential, just like any tool, there's a lot of potential for good, but on the flip side, there's also a lot of potential for bad. Yeah. So there must uh, have that thing where you look at ethical considerations and not use it to, unethically, etc. I think these are some of the basic mindset that needs to be inculcated in our leaders to maximize. Of course, um, what those creative geniuses like Steve Jobs and all says, always be curious, always be curious. You always want to learn. So when something new comes up, don't be scared. Just go. It's not going to blow up your computer. It's not going to. There's no way you're going to delete the internet. So just go and explore and learn as
mm.
much as you can. Yeah,
Okay. I mean, what I'm hearing is you'll only be afraid of things you don't know, don't understand, right? When you know
correct.
and you understand, the fear, actually disappears. Thank you very much, because I mean, really, I think as much as so when we deal with people with superpower, we need to stay updated with their
Yes,
superpower and what their superpower can do, right? And
correct.
encourage innovation culture to make sure that when you hire people or when you have people with these great superpower skills, then you
Mhm.
also want to see how, as a leader, you can actually direct them to use that energy in the way the business requires proactively. And that's what innovation is all about. And while doing that, you safeguard your organization and the people you are serving to ensure that it is done in an ethical way, right? So I think that were three great nuggets. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Now we have a AI geek, I would say. This is my good friend Nini Chong. Now she has written a lot of stuff. So she is my encourager. She's my superpower. So when I need something, her first line will be ala mala guna chat GPT macam ni, is how she will say it, right? And she'll help me to learn. So Nini Chong says generative AI goes beyond just boosting efficiency. It empowers your workforce, unlocking the potential for innovation and growth. With
Mhm.
AI handling repetitive tasks and providing data driven insights, your team now can focus on higher level work, tackle more projects effectively, and ultimately drive greater profitably profitability. And that's what the stress on leaders is all about. And she also says, here's how leaders can approach generative AI: empowerment, not automation.
Yeah.
Shift the narrative from training workforce for efficiency to empowering teams with AI. This emphasizes how AI can personalize workflows, automate mundane tasks, and provide valuable insights, allowing people to focus on high level work and make better decisions. Nini, thank you very much for adding so much of
He has hit the nail on the head with that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
nice. Thank you, Nini. And Jonathan say you hit the nail. So yeah, you are now not just a multi-award winning self-love maestro, also AI maestro. Okay, so Jonathan, I really, really want to thank you before we say goodbye, and I'm sure people will be getting in touch with you to squeeze more of your AI juices and experience. Is there anything you'd like to tell us before we say goodbye?
I just wanted to touch on your last analogy there of uh, being a superpower, AI being a superpower, and we having to keep up to date. I think that this is one superpower that is available to everybody.
Oh,
And I think one
nice.
of the biggest concern that we have is that it should reach everybody.
Mm,
Ultimately, issues like, in education we talk about things like cheating and etc. How to stop cheating. Ultimately, those become secondary to making sure every student has access to it. Every person has, especially students, because that's what's going to help them level up, level the playing field for them, so they can compete equally with, uh, for want of a better word, I'll say the haves. Thank you
nice.
for this opportunity. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me, Ashok, Malal,
Oh,
in a lovely chat.
You're most welcome. It's such a pleasure. It's such a it's Ashok's dog. It is really such a pleasure. I like the look on Ashok's face. Jonathan, it's such a pleasure. Not only you've given us a lot of awareness, tools, quick tips on generative AI, but I think for me, what I take back from you over the last two conversations I've had with you is the work you guys are doing through UNESCO, right? Like you are reaching out to people who need that so that it now becomes accessible to everybody. And that's
Mhm.
one way we can actually improve lives. I mean, I think we talk about improving lives, but you are using AI to help the have nots to have
Right.
equal, but upgrade themselves to have better opportunities, right? To
Yes.
help themselves. For that, I must thank you and I must say that you inspire me that way. And I'm sure it's the whole team in APU that, inspires us. So thank you very much, Ashok. You want to say something?
no, thank you very much, Jonathan. Yes, my dogs were also very excited. They wanted to say thank you very much for sharing everything,
I
and
thought they were
thank you,
playing bankrupt.
and thank you for sharing with us the importance of going beyond reaching just the middle. Thank you.
Mhm.
Right? And how we can use generative AI to add value by having the right mindset, which is about the curious, continuous learning. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both.
All right. Thank you. And really wishing you all the best because I think the great work that you do is going to show up in the kind of people we're going to produce and probably reduce the gaps, okay, among the have and have nots. Thank you,
That's the hope.
Jonathan. Take care.
Thank you. Bye. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. All right. Oof.
Ooh, fantastic session. I love that.
Okay. I lo- I can say I love him. I love the work that they're doing. It's amazing.
Mm.
For those who are still with us, I know we're past 7 o'clock, and can you imagine, how much is invested because they do all of this complimentary. They're
Yeah.
educating this part of the world, right, to complementary. So I think that is really, really fantastic. We do have a LinkedIn user who said such a great session. It took three energetic and compassionate individuals to do it. Okay, I'm not too sure who that is because I can't see your name, but thank you very much. That's very, very encouraging. And I'm
Thank you
sure
very
the three
much.
will be four because you have said such lovely things. So, Ashok, I think time to say goodbye.
Bye bye.
And it's been a session that I think it's very inspiring. Oh my God, it was Aptar Ko who said that. Thank you. Yes, and the chair. That's
Oh, I see.
Jonathan. Boss. Uh, well, if you're still listening in, thank you for being who you are. Thank you for taking this up and doing this to perhaps, find Malaysia back in the map in the way we would be very proud of. Thank you very much, Puan Aptar. All right, with that, this is Mallory signing off from beautiful Kuala Lumpur.
And this is Ashok signing off from down south Singapore. Bye.
Bye. See you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.